everybody. Hi, I'm back. um, yeah. So day 24. What can I say? I've got 6 days left, and um, every day I update the thing, and it just here's my here's my graph. It starts going straight, and well, sorry. Actually, I'm gonna do this way. And then here's Nanowrimo, and here's me, and it's kind of leveled off a bit. And I think that's one of the worst things about knowing you're not going to achieve the 50,000, but still plotting. Like I still track everything. I still track my word count and everything, even though I'm not going for the 50,000. Um, how does one do that? Well, you just track it and leave it, knowing that you're doing because my goal was to try and just get in the habit of getting the words down. The speed is going to happen over time. You just have to practice it enough, and then the speed will just come with the time. But making sure you're doing the words every day is the key, and being okay when you don't. However, for me, I unless I'm physically ill, unless I'm physically ill, I I should be able to be. I should be doing writing every day because this month has been a good test for that. I will put down the pencil and walk away if I have a migraine. That will be like I said, thing I'm gonna write down on paper, like on some sort of like promissory note to like simply, if you're that sick, just don't do it. Pick it up another day. Although, okay, I'm gonna give a bit of background here on why I feel specifically like I feel like I really need to bring a lot to the table in that regard because for those of you who aren't familiar with me, if you don't know me, then you don't know that I grew up with a writer in my family. My dad was the writer. I was the comic book artist. I was the illustrator. So he'd send off pieces to do for articles because he also was a journalist. So he would send off articles, and sometimes they'd ask for illustrations to go along with the article, and that's where I'd step in. So I've actually had my work published at a very young age. um, so I got a chance to learn about the submission process at a very young age. And having said that, watching my dad progress, and one of the things he always said, even if you just write one sentence every day, make sure you're practicing your craft. He also adapted it for me. Do a drawing every day, do something, do like even if it's just a little line, just draw part of your picture every day. So I carried that with me, and I watched him model it. He didn't just simply say it and then not do it. He did it to the point where um, he was diagnosed with lupus. That was when I was about 7 or 8 when he was diagnosed, and he was given 5 years left to live because it was like it was a really 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 virulent form of lupus. Having said that, um, he got an extra 35 years that he wasn't counting on, and neither were we. So take with that if you will. Having said that, though, towards the end of his life, he he was still writing. He was writing literally right up until the time he died. So when you're dealing with somebody like that who like had deteriorated and he could by the time he was almost dead. I know it sounds kind of morbid, but really it's just for me I pull away from it positive experience in that I watched him and he was really inspirational in that way. That he had such a dedication to his writing that he was working on a story right as he was like taking his last breaths. So for me, like if I saw that and I see this person who's like literally about to die and he's writing. So, you know, I will write unless there's something seriously going on. I count migraines as pretty severe because they aren't just like, little headaches or whatever. They're fairly debilitating. So, I mean, I will take it that way because I'm not gonna go quite that far. But at the same time, I'm not gonna just simply say, "Oh well, I'm having an off day. I don't feel like writing," because that's another trap too. There's a balance. There's a balance involved. A balance between like, oh, I don't feel like it, and oh, I'm physically unable to do it because of a reason, or you know, there are reasons. Like you've gotten you've done a lot of other life things that were required. Like having to get groceries, having to clean the house, things that were necessary to maintain and continue on your lifespan. Things like that. Your health. Because contrary to what where my dad was, I will not if pushing myself is gonna make me worse health wise, I will not do it. Even though Nanowrimo was a bad example of that because I did push myself then. That's neither here nor there because that was life lesson that I apparently still had to learn, even though I learned this already. Yeah. What have you. Anyway, so having gone beyond my little rant, I talk about what I'm doing right now. So I managed to like switch over to another project, which I'd originally, at the very, very beginning of NaNoWriMo, I said I was going to be able to cycle between 7. Well, I spent most of my time on the one, pounding my head into a wall. Had I only just chosen to like switch projects, but I really want to try and make some headway, and I did make some headway. But I'm now on to another project, which it's a little bit weird because I'm doing the Snowflake method with it, or my version of the Snowflake method. Basically, what I thought was the Snowflake method, so it's not exactly his patented route. So this is where it's kind of borderline because basically I'm taking you have a very let me rewind. The Snowflake method, for those people who don't know what it is basically I'm like super boiling it down. There's so many parts to it, and there's like a book involved on it and everything. But basically what it is you start off with an outline. Yes, very similar. However, you take this outline and then you fill in parts of the outline, making it a little clearer and a little clearer. You just keep on expanding on the outline, but you're focusing on the outline. You're always just expanding out from the outline. So you start off with like, you know, just trying to think, a bear's in the woods, and then the next thing would be the bear goes out of the woods. Bear goes into a village, chased by villagers, goes home. So then from there that's your basic outline of the story. And then you could do another pass on it. You'd basically talk about what happens between bears in the woods, bear leaves the woods. You put in a couple of major points of what happens in there. And then from there you expand expand after that, you expand after that until you have everything filled in and you have your full story. So it's a neat experiment, and it seems to be going pretty well. So I'm going to continue on with that. But that's wherein technically, because you're not drafting, but you are drafting, but it's not a full draft because of the way you're writing it, because it's still basically an outline. It's just a more fleshed out outline until, like, if your outline is a skeleton, then you start fleshing it out until you have your story, which was a golem. Never mind. But that's what I'm working on tonight. I also want to kind of try and do a little bit of thing where I throw a little bit of exercise in the mix, and we're gonna see how that works out. I don't know, because I did one round. Okay, yoga. I wanted to do like maybe a 5-minute bout of yoga between writing sprints. We'll see how that works. Anyway, yeah. And I still have my other things I have to get done. I have a bunch of I have a book launch that's happening on the 30th. So I have to get the book ready. I have to have everything in by Thursday. So that's 3 days to have, and I have everything uploaded. I just have to tweak a few things and re-upload them. So I have to do that tonight. And oh yeah, and I have to form. So I'm also doing like the hard copy format of that same book that's going to be launching on the 30th. I'm doing a POD version of it as well, like for hard copy through Income Spark. And yeah, so I'm going to teach you another lesson, because lessons are best learned by learning from mistakes of others, and I make a lot of mistakes. So here's another lesson. It's a really basic lesson, actually. So when you're working with something and a document, before you leave the room, go to work and stuff like that, make sure that you save the document. I'm pretty sure I saved it. I'm a solid 90% chance I saved it. I know that I wanted to save it. I definitely 100% wanted to save it. Whether I saved it, whether I succeeded in saving it, I have to check. Why is that important? Because my landlord changed the fuse box in our apartment today, and so our power is off for half hour, and yeah, so in about 5 or 10 minutes, I'm going to go and check to see that I saved my project. Otherwise, I have to reformat a good chunk of book, which I already had to format some of, but I would need to reformat a larger chunk of it. So always save and always back up your work. That is the lesson. Learn from me. If nothing else, learn from me. Let's see. Is there anything else to talk about tonight? I don't know. Well, so those are what I have to do tonight. I have working on Nanowrimo. I have working on ebook, working on the print book, formatting all of that. And I think that's enough, really. I also have my junk book, my junk writing, just in case. but I don't know that I'm going to be needing to junk write tonight. Because I junk wrote last night because I wanted to get words down, and I was just like, no, I don't. Because the other project right now it's stalled because I have to actually do some serious reading to figure out where the next thing is, where the next scene is that I'm going to be writing, and that's going to take a long time. So I just want to do that on the weekend when I have time to sit and read and write. Whereas this, I pick a prompt, write for 20 minutes, I'm done. It's pretty simple. So this is my emergency. Probably won't need it though because I've got what I was working on this morning, which seemed to be working well. So I guess that's all I really had to say for tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and thank you for those in the chat for sending really interesting and confusing spam. I guess I think you're spam. I'm gonna say spam. That's fine. Thank you for communicating anyway. So yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna let you guys all go, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Have a good night, guys.